In making this appointment can slip this country into impunity and subsequently anarchy. In our quest to see that the right thing is done, we as members of the Center for Democracy and Human Rights, CEDEHO, have done our findings on who qualifies to be the executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. And the law states that the provisions of the EFCC Establishment Act 2004 states that 1. The commission shall consist of the following members. 1. A chairman who shall be the chief executive and accounting officer of the commission. 2. Be a serving or retired member of any government security or enforcement agency not below the rank of assistant commissioner of police or its equivalent. 3. He must possess not less than 15 years cognate experience. Mr. President, Mr. Senate President, this provision is very clear and unambiguous. The functions of the EFCC are not civil in nature. Hence, it is a paramilitary organization. That is the rationale behind the inclusion of the police ranking system and its equivalent in other law enforcement agencies as one of the prerequisites for attaining the position of the executive chairman. Secondly, the person sought to be appointed must not only be a member of the law enforcement family, he must have 15 years cognate experience. In other words, the person must have the knowledge, skills, and abilities in the professional law enforcement activity. This section simply means that not all members of the police force, other armed forces, and indeed the EFCC can be the executive chairman of the EFCC. A pilot, a medical personnel, and admin officer who have 15 years paramilitary or police service are ordinarily devoid of the cognate experience of enforcing the laws of EFCC. This much is gleaned from Section 8, subsection 5 of the EFCC Act, which states that all officers involved in the enforcement of the Act shall have the same powers, authorities, privileges, including power to bear arms, as are given by law to members of the Nigerian police. The words here that are underlined simply mean that not all officers or members of the police are involved in the enforcement of the Act. This is not strange, as the EFCC started as a new agency lacking in manpower across board. Therefore, there was a massive recruitment and secondment of personal staff from sister agencies to boost the personnel capacity of the EFCC. In other words, there were different entry points into the EFCC. However, the EFCC in its wisdom consciously differentiated all the staff. To further buttress this point, the EFCC simply identified the officers who are beneficiaries of Section 8, subsection 5 of the EFCC Act and issued them with a warrant card. Evidently, the officers who do not possess a warrant card are not regarded as equivalent to police officers as envisioned by the EFCC Establishment Act. To put it in context, there are various members of the law enforcement agencies and military organizations that are civilians and cannot take on the headship. Examples of this abound in the Nigerian Army and the Nigerian Police. A person who serves in the EFCC as chief of staff, a personal staff of the chairman or secretary has no law enforcement training as envisioned by the EFCC Act. Just like the Inspector General of Police may consider appointing a non-police personnel in his office to carry out certain work. That does not make the civilian a member of the police force in the context of the appointment to the headship. Also, a civilian pay officer who works with the police does not become a member of the police force in the context of appointment as IGP. Any appointment that is contrary to the provisions of the extant EFCC Establishment Act is an assault on the National Assembly. That is why we are here, which is the constitutional organ responsible for making laws. If the executive is uncomfortable with the provision, the appropriate action they should have taken before appointing Mr. Olukoyode is that they should have beckoned the National Assembly to amend or repeal such provisions. To let such infractions slide like this is to lead to anarchy, and CEDEHO will not do that. From our investigations, he, Mr. Olukoyode, was appointed as the Chief of Staff to the SY Chairman of the EFCC, Mr. Ibrahim Magu. and served in that capacity from 2016 to 2018. He was later appointed the Commission Secretary, and he served in that capacity from 2018 to 2019 before he was suspended from office. And we gathered that he and some indicted principal officers were never reabsorbed back to the Commission. Dramatically and suddenly, Mr. Olukoyode has been appointed as the new executive chairman of the EFCC. And we also gathered that he was recently invited by the EFCC and that all his offenses against the EFCC have been written off. There were allegations that they laid against him that has been wiped out since he became the head. While his salaries and benefits suspended have all been paid even while he was on suspension. In fact, we are all aware of Olukoyode spending 8 years at the commission between 2016 to 2023, if we are going to be adding the fact that he was the chief of staff to Ibrahim Magu. We also query how he manufactured additional 15 years experience as required by law in section 2 subsection 1 paragraph 3 of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Did he manufacture the 15 years? Did he manufacture the 15 years? No. How he got it, we don't know. It is against this backdrop that we write this petition calling on the Senate President to use his good office to give this appointment a proper scrutiny that it deserves and stop the flagrant disregard and breach of the provisions of the extant laws of the EFCC by Mr. President. We believe that the Senate President, in his wisdom, will give this petition the prompt action it deserves and save our country from impunity and anarchy. Thank you all. Adebayo Lion Ogori. My name is Adebayo Lion Ogori. I'm the